There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative deficit, I can pay for the programs many times over.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another Shtick with Koolfrogg. You know, no matter how many times I hear that gaff machine go off, it just makes me laugh every single time. Every single time. There's nothing that I can do to stop myself from laughing at that old fool every night. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody before we move on through the night. Great Liquor sitting over on the Rumble side by himself. How's it going, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. Daisy Girl, Rabbit, Keith Gregory, Caitlin Williams, Mike O'Hagan, Moose Maneuver. Look at that. That's awesome. Thank you all for being here. Oh, TR, don't want to miss you, brother. There you are. Awesome. So happy to see you all. So glad that you're here. We're actually going to do a little bit before we actually get into doing the news. Most of us know that today was Flag Day, not the LGBTQIA plus 12 whatever other things that people decide that they want to actually go by, but the actual origins of our wonderful United States flag. We'll actually go through that first before we actually move on through the news. We, of course, Trump, Biden. It doesn't. If the news writes itself, there's so much of it over and over again every single day. There's laws that have been trying to be passed. There's other things that are happening across the United States, and we're going to see how much we can actually get through here tonight in a nice, timely manner. Well, we'll try. We'll try. The last couple nights, it seems like we've been hitting about 3 hours. We'll see what we can do here. So, Flag Day. The origins of Flag Day is that the flag of the United States shall be 13 stripes and alternate red and white with a union of 13 stars in the white and blue field, representing the new constellation. This was a resolution adopted by the Continental Congress on June 14, 1977. The resolution was made following the report of a special committee which had been assigned to suggest the flag's design. A flag of the design was first carried out in battle on September 11th, 1777, on the Battle of Brandywine. The American flag was first saluted by foreign naval vessels on February 14th, 1778, when the Ranger, bearing the Stars and Stripes and under the command of Captain Paul Jones, arrived in the French port. The flag first flew over the foreign territory in early 1778 in Nassau, Bahama Islands, where Americans captured a British fort. Observance of the adoption of the flag was not soon in coming, however, although there are many claims the first official observance of Flag Day, all but one, took place more than an entire century after the flag's adoption in 1777. The first claim The first claim was from Hartford, Connecticut. Celebration during the first summer of 1861. In the late 1800s, schools all over the United States held Flag Day programs to contribute to the Americanization of immigrant children, and the observance caught on with individual communities. The most recognized claim, however, comes from New York. On June 14th, 1889, Professor George Bolt, principal of a free kindergarten for the poor in New York City, had his school hold patriotic ceremonies to observe the anniversary of the Flag Day resolution. This initiative attracted attention of the state's Department of Education, which arranged to have the day observed in all public schools thereafter. Soon, the state legislature passed a law making it the responsibility of the state superintendent of public schools to ensure that schools held observances for Lincoln's birthday, Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, and Flag Day. In 1897, the governor of New York ordered the display of the flag over all public buildings in the state. An observance considered by some to be the first official recognition of the anniversary of the adoption of the flag outside of schools. Another claim came from Philadelphia in 1893. The Society of Colonial Dames succeeded in getting a resolution passed to have the flag displayed in all of the city's public buildings. As Elizabeth Duane Gillespie, a direct descendant of Benjamin Franklin and the president of the Colonial Dames of Pennsylvania, that same year tried to get the city to call June 14th Flag Day. Resolutions by women were not granted much notice. However, it was not until May 7th, 1937, that Pennsylvania became the first state to establish the June 14th Flag Day as a legal holiday. Flag Day is nationwide observance today, but Pennsylvania is the only state that recognizes it as a legal holiday, which is interesting in itself that, Pennsylvania is the only state to actually see it as a legal holiday. No other state really does. Bernard Sigran, a school teacher of Waukesha, Wisconsin, reportedly spent years trying to get Congress to declare June 14th as national holiday. Although his attempts failed, the day was widely observed. Father of Flag Day. Honors have been given to William T. Kerr, who is credited for founding the American Flag Day Association in 1888, was still a schoolboy in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Both President Wilson in 1916 and President Coolidge in 1927 issued proclamations asking for June 14th to be observed as a national flag day, but it wasn't until August 3rd, 1949, that Congress approved the national observance and President Harry Truman signed it into law. So out of all the things that Harry Truman didn't do, I guess he did do one thing halfway decent. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. So Flag Day in itself really kind of I always kind of remembered Flag Day as a young boy, being one of those that was allowed and selected to um, carry out the flag to the pole outside the elementary school and help raise the flag every morning, really seriously uh, made me feel something that most probably never had actually felt about um, about the flag and about uh, the ability to do such a thing. I always found that to be one of the more interesting things that I always remember doing from like third grade till fifth grade. And I don't know how it was that I just so happened to be the one that actually was selected to do such a thing, but it always held a place in my heart, and it's something that I will always remember being able to do. That was always uh, the like out of all the things that most kids remember out of elementary school, that was one of the bigger ones that I remembered. Let's see if anybody else actually showed up here. What's up, Tranny Fluid? Good to see you. If it was to sum up America in one word, it'd be commie banana republic. It almost seems that way, doesn't it? What's up, Natalisa? Good to see you. Glad you're here. I don't want to miss anybody. Hey, Suzanne. How you doing, dear? Good to see you. And Valerie. Hey, Valerie. I'm glad you're all here. That's awesome. If you can all do me one favor, and that would be to hit that like button for me. I usually don't have the tendency to ask very often through a show. I'll do it at the beginning and do it at the end. If you could do that for me, that would be wonderful. Um, if you just so happen to be over on that Rumble side, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for me. Push that algorithm through. Let it be known. Um, Google Evening. I'm guessing I'm not really sure where you're going with that, Valerie. I'm kind of confused. My daughter was learning the Pledge of Allegiance in her daycare, and I just thought she'd never get to experience that. It seems as though they actually took that away for a short bit. Um, I remember my oldest saying that they never really did anything. He didn't learn how to do that or whatever. But then I know that my middle child, she has actually said that they do, which is awesome that they actually do the Pledge of Allegiance themselves. Um, Respecting our flag and respecting our country is what we should always have instilled in our hearts and in our brains. It seems as though it's overlooked all too often, especially lately. We had watched within the last few days. We even said something here. How President Biden refuses to actually see it that way, and he's actually gone to the point of replacing the center flag on the White House for Day of Pride, whatever, to put that pride flag in that center was disrespecting the United States flag through and through. As you can see here, I'm leaving myself sit in a little corner as opposed to making myself larger on this uh, wonderful American flag that I've always used for the background of this show. Um, there's reasons, and I believe that everybody should actually appreciate the flag and what it's actually stands for and why it's there for us all to actually appreciate. It seems as though we don't appreciate those things all very often at all. Kind of sad that to believe that that's the case. I was originally good evening. Okay. Good night, not Google. Spell check changed it twice. Um, awesome. Spell check. Spell check's horrible. I'm just kind of glancing through everything, so I want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody. If I missed you, say hi again. I'll actually try hitting that, and I'll and giving you that hi back. Either way, let's kick this over, and we'll actually start going through some of this news here that I actually have. I've quite a few articles again, like I have the last few nights. It just seems like there's so much. So this first one here is this threat from communist China. You should brace for aggressive sabotage from Chinese hackers, top cybersecurity officials say. Um, Jen Easterly, nominee of the Director of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity, and Infrastructure Security Agency, and Chris Inglis, nominee for the National Cyber Director, testifies during a confirmation hearing before the Senate Homeland Security Government Affairs Committee. It says the Chinese state hackers will almost certainly conduct aggressive cyber attacks to disrupt critical U.S. infrastructure, such as pipelines and railways. If a conflict breaks out in the United States, a senior U.S. cybersecurity official has warned. At an event of Aspen Institute in Washington, Jen Easterly, director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, said that Beijing is investing heavily in advancing cyber technologies designed to sabotage U.S. infrastructure. In the event, so it's an interesting word when you actually think about it. Infrastructure. There was a bill that was passed not so long ago here by this wonderful president of ours, where he called it the Infrastructure Act, and that he was actually going to push monies across the United States to actually bolster our infrastructure uh, through and through, which doesn't really matter when you can actually see that China is on its way to actually do whatever it wants, and it will actually attack the U.S. Homeland as it is. In the event of conflict, China will almost certainly use aggressive cyber operations to go after our critical infrastructure, to include pipelines, rail lines, and delay military deployment and induce societal panic, she told the audience. This, I think, is the real threat that we need to be prepared for and to focus on to build resilience against. While malign activities from the Chinese state actors have, for years, been in the spotlight, Easterly noted that the focus has been espionage, be it the decades of intellectual property theft or the greatest transfer of intellectual wealth in history. But Beijing's efforts have now increasingly shifted toward disruptions and destruction, she said. Given the formidable nature of the threat for Chinese state actors, given the size of their capability, given how much resources and effort we're putting into it, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to prevent disruptions from happening. Each of these comments came in as bilateral tensions continued to rise and cyber attack from China draw growing attention. Late last month, Microsoft and various cybersecurity agencies under the Five Eyes Alliance revealed that a Chinese cyber espionage group has, for the last 2 years, been conducting a campaign targeting a wide span of U.S. sectors. For the last 2 years, for at least it was just make it sound like it was just something that happened under President Biden, as opposed to it being that China was brought up several times over and over again that we needed to pay attention to what they were doing by the predecessor, and not a single person actually heard that, because they refused to actually listen to his rallies and his speeches, as most of media wouldn't actually cover it. U.S. sectors, including manufacturing, telecommunication, government, maritime, utility, transportation, and education. The goal of the campaign was to develop capabilities that could disrupt critical communications infrastructure between the United States and Asia region during future crises. Microsoft said, added that the threat actor intends to perform espionage and maintain access without being detected for as long as possible. Well, of course, they don't want to be detected. They don't want to let it be known that they were actually doing such a thing. They want to do such a thing and move on from it as stealthily as possible and not get caught. Nobody wants to get caught in the process of actually doing this. But apparently, we have some intelligence that's actually saying, this is potentially possible, and we'll be watching for it. The United States and intelligence partners said the group can use the same tactics from the Volt Typhoon campaign to target other sectors worldwide. The resources that the Chinese regime has put into cyber warfare have been considerable. Appearing before the House Appropriations Committee on April 27th, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the Chinese hackers outnumbered FBI cyber personnel by at least 50 to 1. If you look at China, their hacking program is bigger than that of every other nation combined. He said in his testimony, adding that he considers Communist Beijing the greatest threat to our country, and that FBI investigations into the Chinese Communist Party and other actors had increased by 1,300%. That's a significant number to actually, realize. 1,300%. Wow. A cybersecurity firm, CrowdStrike, in its latest report on cyber threats, said that the China-linked cyber espionage groups are targeting 39 industries on nearly every continent. While the majority of these campaigns targeted China's Asian neighbors, about 25% of the activities were aimed at North America. In the State Department briefing on June 13th, spokesperson Matthew Miller cited a March intelligence community report noting that China almost certainly is capable of launching cyber attacks that could disrupt critical infrastructure services within the United States, including against oil and gas pipelines and rail systems. Uh, that's some significant stuff when you actually think about it. In between the oil that we're really not uh, uh, using, other than to send it to other countries as we buy from them ourselves instead of becoming independent like we were under the predecessor. Retarded. That's what the people are. It seems as though that's how far it's actually gone. Is that we just don't think. We don't think about all of this stuff. Gas pipelines and rail systems. When you think about it, gas pipelines. We can. There's some stuff. We'll actually get into some of the gas um, stuff here in a couple of articles here down the road. As far as rail systems go, I mean, that's a main transportation, to get things from one side of the country to the next, or from one state to the next. For them to actually be able to shut such a thing down at ease could really disrupt, movement of goods in and around the United States. Um, it could make things more expensive than they already are, um, as well as hinder travel. It's vital for government, network defender, and public to stay vigilant. It's why the U.S. government, in a whole of government action, has worked with the private sector to prepare private sector defenses. He told reporters when asked about the Volt Typhoon's cyber attack. Easterly said that her agency has been engaging with different social sectors in an effort to protect the vulnerable groups that may be at target. We have to look at these threats as a threat to the nation, and that we all have a part to play. We really do have all have something to actually go along with this. When you think about it, This being the threat that it is could really, really, crash even speech when you think about it. If they could take out that much of an infrastructure for us to actually uh, not be able to even communicate with each other like we like to do on a regular basis. Um, what's up, Boomer? Good to see you. Google is good. Drink the Kool-Aid. All right. Uh, took an oath to love and protect my country. It doesn't end with discharge, as it shouldn't. As it shouldn't. It seems as there's a something that's lost in the most recent past with so many. 357. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Of listening off the bed. Sleep well, rabbit. All right. Well, uh, just kind of keep moving here, I suppose. So then, we've actually hit on this particular person in the last few days. It seems as though, as opposed to actually putting Trump up first, I'm like, well, let's put Biden up first. Let's put Biden up first today, and let's talk about him. Let's talk about his goings on, because his goings on are just as important, if not more so, than what they're actually claiming. Trump is. I think this is a lot more important for us to actually understand. And it seems as though if I can get the word out to even just one more person that wasn't there yesterday or the day before, that maybe more and more people will start to wake up to what we really need to be paying attention to, and that's Joe Biden. It says, meet the Ukrainian oligarch who allegedly paid Joe Biden $5 million. Mykola Zlochevsky, a former Ukrainian minister and founder of Burisma Holdings, allegedly paid President Joe Biden $5 million and possesses 2 audio records as insurance to secure the pay-for-play scheme, according to Republican lawmakers. Now, I know we've hit on this in the last few days, so those of you that are actually been around and actually have listened to any of this and really been paying attention to the pay-for-play stuff that is actually happening for Joe Biden um, to be able to hide this from all media other than certain right-wing media that's actually pushing it forward and actually making it be known, hey, are you looking, are you paying attention? They're going to actually come up with more and more information as we move on with this. Zlochevsky's whereabouts today are unknown. Some speculate he's in Monaco, where he reportedly fled in 2019, escaping Ukraine after being suspected of embezzlement. He reportedly bought Cypriot citizenship between 2017 and 2019, according to investigation by Al Jazeera. In 2002, Zlochevsky co-founded Burisma, which allegedly changed owners in 2011 in an offshore Cypriot investment fund. According to The Guardian, from 2010 to 2012, Zlochevsky was Ukraine's Ecology and Natural Resources Minister and was Deputy Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council from April 2012 through February 2014. As the Environment Minister, some accuse Zlochevsky of handling or handing out gas licenses to his cronies, the British daily newspaper reported. In 2016, Zlochevsky was under suspicion of money laundering and public corruption related to Burisma, prosecutor Victor Shokin investigated the case before his termination due to pressure applied by then Vice President Joe Biden, who threatened to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid from Ukraine if the Ukrainian government did not fire Shokin. Joe Biden bragged about it, the firing in 2018. He did, and we watched the video within the last 2 days of him actually saying, you know, them saying that he's not the president. He's, try me. And lo and behold, guess what? They fired him. He likes to actually, bolster certain things that he really shouldn't. But Joe Biden really sticks his foot in his mouth over and over again when it comes to some of the stuff that he's actually done in his past, and he thinks it's okay. He thinks it's okay because he's been able to actually continuously get away with it. I'm sick of him getting away with it, and I think that more and more people need to actually explain uh, or be explained to what this is actually going to be, and if Joe Biden will ever be brought up on charges for any of this. Hello, Rose. Good to see you, dear. In 2016, Hunter Biden and his associate Devin Archer held seats in Burisma's board, where Hunter Biden earned $83,000 a month as a board member. The company appointed Hunter to the board in 2014. Senator Chuck Grassley's Republican out of Iowa 2020 Senate report recounted the relationship between Biden's Burisma and Zlochevsky. In late 2013 into 2014, mass protests erupted in Kyiv, Ukraine, demanding integration into Western economies and an end to systemic corruption that had plagued the country. At least 82 people were killed during the protests, which culminated in February 21st when Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych abdicated by fleeing the country. Less than 2 months later, over the span of only 28 days, significant events involving the Bidens unfolded. On April 16th, 2014, Vice President Biden met with his son's business partner, Devin Archer, at the White House. 5 days later, Vice President Biden visited Ukraine, and he soon after was described in the press as the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. The day after his visit to in April 22nd, Archer joined the board of Burisma. 6 days later, on April 28th, British officials seized $23 million from the London bank accounts of Burisma's owners, Mikhailo Zlochevsky. 14 days later, on May 12th, Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma, and over the course of the next several years, Hunter Biden and Devin Archer are paid millions of dollars from the corrupt Ukrainian oligarch for their participation on the board. In 2014, protests in Kyiv came to be known as the Revolution of Dignity, a revolution against corruption in Ukraine. Following the revolution, Ukrainian political figures were desperate for U.S. support. Zlochevsky would have made sure relevant Ukrainian officials were well aware of Hunter's appointment to Burisma's board as leverage. Hunter Biden's position on the board created an immediate potential conflict of interest that would prove the problematic for both U.S. and Ukrainian officials and would affect the implementation of Ukraine policy. And it really kind of really makes you wonder and think about this, as this isn't something that's really new, that we've actually been funding and giving money by the billions to Ukraine for a long time. This isn't something that just doesn't happen under this current administration. This is something that had been going on previously to this current administration, and under the Obama administration, just doing such a thing as forcing that to actually be something where they're actually sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. On Monday, Grassley announced a foreign national allegedly paid President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden $5 million each and kept 17 audio recordings of the conversation of them as an insurance policy. Now, we covered Grassley yesterday in as much depth as we potentially could for the stuff that they were giving us. And it seems as though Grassley's the one that's actually stepping up to the plate and actually being like, nah, we need to pay attention to this. And if we don't pay attention to it, I'm going to thrust it to the forefront to be sure that we do pay attention to it. Grassley and the bombshell allegation originated from an FBI informant document, FD 1023. Last week, Reps Margie Taylor Greene, Anna Paulina Luna, and Nancy Mace said the foreign national identified in the FD 1023 form is Zlochevsky. Zlochevsky is the one that's been identified as the foreign national that just so happens to have paid Biden and his son $5 million apiece to do nothing but to keep their mouths shut, keep this stuff to themselves, and don't let the rest of the world know about what was actually going on in Burisma. Now, there has to be the 17 audio recordings. There has to be an awful lot of information out there about this particular instance that we're not privy to. And I want to be privy. I want to know exactly what's going on. I'm sick of it not being something that we pay attention to. I really think that this needs to be really pushed in several different places. And I don't know who out there hasn't been actually talking about it, but if we can get more and more people talking about it and not be scared to talk about it, that's the thing. Is it seems as everybody's so dang scared about it. 357. What is that? Concrete podcast, I meant? What the? I don't know what that is. What is that? Rose says, "Hey, great liquor. If you're over on the other pond, yeah, I don't. He sits over there. He sits over there, but there isn't anybody else that actually joins him on a regular to actually talk to him or whatever. So he eventually comes over and hangs out with us over here. We're gonna kind of move on from this for now, I guess. I mean, there's not much more here for me, but I wish there was. I wish there's a lot more information on this particular ordeal, and that people wouldn't be so scared to share this information. Um, that being said, to share this out, go ahead and share it to your favorite social media platform and let them know that they should actually be paying attention, that we actually go and cover those hard hitting things and we actually, sit right on that line. And we sit there and go as close to as we can without actually, screwing up algorithms and YouTube's speech algorithms, whatever those are, of stopping us from actually moving on. Everyone is terrified to speak up with the censorship going on. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There's so many people that are so scared to speak up. I wish we could actually convince more and more people to actually speak up. I really do. I wish it was something that more people would actually open their mouths about and just continue to push this information, get it out to the masses, let them know, hey, this is still something. It is something. It's not all about this guy that you see here, Orange Man bad. Orange Man bad, it's just a cover. It's just a cover to say, look over there. Don't look over here, look over there. We don't want you looking over, at what we're doing. So kind of kick it up to Trump here or whatever. It says reporter reveals that what Trump did to Jack Smith inside the Miami courtroom. Intense. Former President Donald Trump appeared in Miami on Tuesday for his arraignment in the case brought against him as special counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed to Biden's Department of Justice. Trump pleaded not guilty, though his attorney in federal court, or through his attorneys in federal court. The federal judge granted Trump a pretrial release with no special conditions except no contact with witnesses. Smith has charged Trump with 37 counts related to the handling of classified documents. If he is found guilty on all counts, Trump, who is president, Joe Biden's chief rival in next year's presidential election, could face decades in prison. Judge Goodman, who oversaw Trump's arraignment on Tuesday, did not allow cameras, phones, or electronic devices in Miami courtroom, but reporters relayed what they noticed while inside. However, there was no apparent eye contact between Trump and Smith during the day's proceedings. Trump sat with his arms folded folded most of the time, talking with his lawyers occasionally, but Trump did not speak, and Magistrate Judge Goodman never addressed him directly. Judge Goodman asked both sides if they agreed to waive the reading of the indictment, to which they agreed. So the matter got to Trump's arraignment fairly quickly. Most of the arguments from both sides were about Trump's contact with potential witnesses, and the defense pointed out that they don't even have a full list of the witnesses yet. So don't speak to any of the other witnesses, but at the same time, we don't know who the witnesses are. So just don't talk to anybody. Don't talk to anybody, but go out and hold big, massive speeches and just go from there and see how far that goes. Hey, what's up, Charlemagne? How you doing, dear? CNN's Evan Perez was also inside the courtroom and said Trump did not seem thrilled to be there. He had very serious look on his face, periodically had his arms folded. The former president entered the room probably about 30 or 40 minutes before the judge. We couldn't see exactly when he entered the room because the televisions of the room that we were in were not turned on immediately. But we saw, the lawyers take their seats, that the former president sort of twiddling his thumbs while he waited for proceedings to take place. So according to the indictment, Trump allegedly showed classified documents of a number of people who did not have proper security clearances on at least two separate occasions, and DOJ alleges that both instances took place at Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Details regarding one of the alleged instances were leaked to CNN. The network reported that federal prosecutors had obtained an audio recording of a summer 2021 meeting in which former President Donald Trump acknowledges he held onto classified Pentagon document about a potential attack on Iran. Multiple sources told CNN, undercutting his argument, that he declassified everything, which he does have the ability to do as President of the United States. Trump announced last Thursday that he had been indicted in the U.S. Department of Justice on charges connected to the handling of classified materials. The charges include willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document or record, corruptly concealing a document or record, concealing a document in a federal investigation, a scheme to conceal, and false statements and representations. Maximum sentence for respective charges per statute ranged from 5 to 20 years, although an eventual sentence, should Trump be convicted, would likely be much lower. I really don't see him getting any of this. I don't. And I just, as much as they want this to actually stick and actually work so that they can actually stop him from potentially running for president isn't going to happen. He's still going to try running, regardless if he's sitting in jail or not. You can still run. He can still run just as much as he wants, and he just because he, for any other reason to think that he can't because he's sitting in prison is ridiculous. We've seen several other countries do the same thing where, guys actually win races from jail. One of Trump's attorneys ripped Joe Biden's Justice Department during a Monday interview and said that her client was 100% allowed to possess the classified materials he's been indicted for having. Christina Bobb told Newsmax that Trump's authorization comes from the Presidential Records Act, which going on to blast the way he's been treated by the DOJ and FBI compared to President Joe Biden and Vice President Mike Pence, both of whom also had classified materials in their possession, though as vice president, they are not covered under the same act. Donald Trump was 100% authorized to keep everything he kept, and is actually the Department of Justice that actually had to return materials because they took things they were not allowed to possess and had to return them, Bob noted further. That's an interesting, thought in itself or whatever, that some of the stuff that they took, they had to return because they were not allowed to possess it. President Trump had every right to have possession of those documents, and the only statute that applies to Donald Trump on this is the Presidential Records Act, 44 USC Section 2203 Alpha, which specifically says the president and only the president is the one who has authority to make this call. I think their case is dead on arrival, she predicted. So over and over again, you get one side being like, no, you can't do that. There's rules and regulations behind all this. The rules and regulations exclude the person that is president of the United States, as he is the one that is able to actually do such a thing. It seems as so many people do not realize the Presidential Records Act 44 USC Section 2203 Alpha and what it actually does say. Hello, Stephanie Jones. Good to see you. It has to be something that we all do anyway. Pictures, tons of boxes. There's tons of boxes. I actually have a couple things to go along with that, whatever. We'll actually get into the tons of boxes that were around. All presidents have classified documents, but there are handlers who oversee these files. It's not like Trump had them on his computer desk. Or in multiple thousands of boxes that just so happen to be strewn everywhere. It doesn't make any sense. Like taking copier paper from my job. I guess. Shirts, wherefore art thou? I have no clue. He was supposed to be here last night. He said that he had Tuesday and Thursday off, and that he would attempt any other night to actually see if he had time to actually pop in. Being that he had the night off last night, it was kind of disturbing to actually realize that he didn't actually show up. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he actually shows up here eventually. Hopefully he'll actually show up tomorrow. That'd be fun. We'll see. You can always chant for him and do whatever you can to actually, get him to show up. So Attorney General Garland defends special counsel Jack Smith. Of course he does. Why would Merrick Garland not? It doesn't make sense for him to not do such a thing. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland on June 14th defended special counsel Jack Smith after former President Donald Trump was charged with concealing documents and other crimes. Garland described Smith as a veteran career prosecutor who has assembled a group of experienced and talented prosecutors and agents who share his commitment to integrity and the rule of law. Garland, a Biden appointee who appointed Smith to investigate the former president, also said that he follows federal regulations with respect to the probe. The regulations require that special counsel to notify the attorney general of significant events in the course of an investigation. They also state that the attorney general may ask the special counsel for an explanation of any steps the special counsel takes and may decide that an action is so inappropriate and unwarranted under established departmental practices that it should not be pursued. Garland was commenting after holding an unrelated event in Washington and after Trump accused the Department of Justice of election interference and weaponizing the justice system. On June 13th, hours after entering a not guilty plea in Miami, Trump told supporters in New Jersey that President Joe Biden had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges. And that's his opinion. He has the opinion in that matter because why? Because he feels that those documents are his, and it doesn't matter if they think that they're classified, even if they were marked as classified. He has the right to declassify them as he wants. But we're just going to continue to overlook that. Biden has said that he has never suggested to the DOJ to bring a charge or not bring a charge. Sure, he hasn't. Biden has zero things to do with the whole thing. Trump also criticized Smith over the prosecution of former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Smith won a conviction of McDonnell on bribery charges, although the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously tossed the conviction, with Justice John Roberts taking issue with the government's boundless interpretation of the federal bribery statute. McDonnell, a Republican, said on Newsmax on June 14th that Smith would rather win than get it right. He'd rather win than get it right. How do you not get it right if you won? Really? You just going to fabricate whatever you want to actually to get the outcome that you wish? That seems a little wrong in its own. I think he's overzealous and overaggressive and will extend the law in order to get a win, McDonnell added. Smith, who is the top Justice Department official until 2015, also considered investigating nonprofits targeted by the IRS, but ultimately chose against prosecution. He testified in 2014. Emails show that Smith thought officials could charge the nonprofits, which the IRS wrongly targeted, with a conspiracy to violate campaign finance law. Smith's wife is a film director who produced a documentary about former First Lady Michelle Obama and has donated to Biden, who beat Trump in 2020. Isn't that something? Smith's wife just so happens to just be a film director who produced a documentary for Michelle Obama and then goes ahead and donates money to the Biden administration without an issue. Yes, that is your husband should be the one that actually goes after the predecessor and everything that they want to go after him for. Makes total sense, doesn't it? Garland appointed Smith in late 2022 to investigate Trump's handling of records, including documents with classification markings, and whether any person or group illegally interfered with the transfer of power after the 2020 election or the certification of electoral votes that occurred on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. Smith said when he was appointed that he intended to carry out the investigations independently and in the best tradition of the Department of Justice. In prepared remarks after Trump's indictment was unsealed, Smith tried to combat accusations of unfair application of law. We have one set of laws in this country and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation. Nothing more, nothing less, he said. If that's the case, if that's the quote that's going to come out of your mouth, you best be looking into Joe Biden and Burisma. Turn around, take your head out your ass, and start paying attention. Don't sit there and use some bullshit language on me like this when you're going to say that it needs to go across the board the same way for everyone. And you're going to go there and you're going to actually not do what you need to do to Joe Biden. Over and over again. I'm going to reiterate that over and over and over again to get that through to everybody, to make them understand that this crap, this paragraph, this quote in itself is exactly what that's supposed to mean. Everyone, every single person. And I don't care what piece of paper that he had sitting in a box somewhere, supposedly in his bathroom, supposedly across a dance floor, supposedly somewhere else. I do not believe them. I do not believe them in any way, shape, or form until they can actually turn around and do the same thing to Joe Biden. Let's go. Trump has drawn attention to how the department has declined to prosecute a number of top officials, including the one-time rival Hillary Clinton, even though the officials also were found to possess records marked classified. He has also defended keeping materials, arguing that he declassified them before leaving office. According to the indictment, Trump illegally held onto national defense records and violated the law when he showed them to other people, including an unidentified writer and publisher. Trump also made false statements to investigators and worked with an aide, Walter Nada, to hide some of the documents from the FBI, authorities said. Yeah, where? In the bathroom? Is that where they were hiding them? Smith hasn't taken questions since being appointed. Garland took several questions on June 14th, but declined to say became aware of decision to charge Trump. He also said he couldn't discuss the particulars of any ongoing criminal case before praising Smith and Smith's team. Any questions about this matter will have to be answered by their filing in court. Garland was also asked about so-called extremism, experts being concerned about the unrest in Miami where Trump was arraigned. We live in a democracy. No, constitutional federal republic. Get it right. These kinds of matters are adjudicated through the judicial system. He said the Justice Department will be vigilant to ensure that there are no threats of violence or actual violence. And there really wasn't much violence. There was one jackhole that decided to actually go and run across the front of the barricades or whatever and try jumping on front of his vehicles twice. It wasn't just once, it was twice that he actually attempted to do so. Let's see here. If Democrats can bring something decent to the table, I'm ears. But poor Biden can't barely talk or walk. It's just sad. I just remain remain a constitutionalist. I don't pick the two-party side. And as far as that goes, it's pretty much, where I am with it or whatever is I don't care which side is doing what. If you're going to treat them both the same, they're not doing that. They're actually going after political rivals in a disgusting way over and over again, going after Trump for something that they don't need to even worry about. They should be worried about themselves. I never thought it was a good idea to be a career politician. Some of these, career politicians like Joe Biden, who've been in politics for the better part of 50, almost 60 years, really needs to actually be somebody that maybe needs to actually just go away. I can't wait for this next term to come up or whatever for 2024. There's an awful lot of um, representatives and senators that are looking at either retirement or looking at different spots, different positions, trying to move themselves around to do different things. And, we really need to be paying attention to those, and we will. We will pay attention to those. If there's something to be made it urgent, i.e., Trump was selling classified documents to other countries, there might be justification, but for allegedly showing golf buddies, I don't see the rush. Exactly, I don't see the necessity. Even it's disturbing. So they could have or should have waited until after the election for, if nothing else, the appearance it gives, and that's what that's the appearance that they want to give. They want to give this appearance that, hey, look, just before everything's gonna, come down to this next year of running into another election cycle, let's hurry up and was produce something that could take months to years to actually go through, to see if we're gonna actually charge this guy in any way, shape, or form. Just wait for Trump to actually go ahead and, maybe actually take up presidency yet one more time, and then just be like, "Oh, let's just drop it all and you go ahead, turn around, and you investigate this guy. Go investigate Biden. We want to investigate predecessors. Let's go." Cool Frog helps my anxiety by making sense. They all eat dinner and have their kids marry just like us. Yes, exactly. Um, so this guy from Newsmax, Greg Kelly, he really seriously, really made a good point, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting to actually see what kind of stuff that he had to actually say about this ordeal. So this Newsmax host takes the live TV to show how seized Trump classified documents fit into one box. Something isn't adding up. Newsmax host Greg Kelly has punched a major hole in the establishment media's reporting about the number of classified documents authorities claim former President Donald Trump left the White House with. Clumsy clairvoyance. Thank you so much, dear. Gifted a Cool Frog membership. Looks like Mike Gohagan got to pick that one up. Awesome. Thank you again so much, Clumsy. And hello. Good to see you. Trump has been indicted for that as the Justice Department, which answers the President Joe Biden seeks to put him in prison for the rest of his natural life. The country's, which, you could give him 5 and it could be life, when you think about it. He's pretty old. The country's 45th president faces hundreds of years behind bars for alleged violations of the Espionage Act and other crimes. So says special counsel Jack Smith, with all of the conflicts of interest. The latest overblown witch hunt has Democrats giddy in their media sycophants, plastering images of rooms full of boxes on TV and online. The number of boxes sent to co-host on ABC's The View into the disgusting erratic fit on Monday. Other partisans online have shared pictures of boxes from DOJ that make it appear as though Trump packed up a U-Haul truck with government secrets and stashed them in the bathroom in Florida. So then there's those pictures. There's those pictures that they're actually trying to actually say, oh, look at all of these boxes. Look at all the boxes of all the stuff that he actually took. This guy, Byron Donalds, I actually do have his particular Occupy Democrats tweet in another slide here or whatever. We'll actually go and check that out here in a short moment. But you can just over and over again do like, yeah, look at all of the boxes, look at all the stuff that's that he took. Does anyone else have a photocopier in their bathroom next to the boxes of stolen cloth? This is not the bathroom. This isn't the bathroom. That doesn't look like a bathroom. That looks like more like a cubby hole, whatever. Hey, seriously, it's like, oh, okay. Kelly demonstrated the truth about all the boxes on his show Monday night and again on Twitter Tuesday morning. Nothing of any relevance to the government's supposed case is any of them. In fact, as Kelly pointed out, the number of documents that were found to be classified actually fit in one box, with plenty of room to spare. Newsmax had something isn't adding up at the bottom of the screen as Kelly discussed the documents. Kelly tweeted, important. The corrupt Department of Justice is trying to taint the American people and jury pool with alarmist photos that mean nothing. This is an absolute hoax. So you can see here's Kelly holding the one box with the stack of paper of all the things that were supposedly documents that were classified. YouTube police says, I'm not affiliated with YouTube except for the content creator. I'm subscribed to this channel and wanted to stop by and say hello, more or less introduce myself. I believe I've seen you over on Winning Realities thing. Thank you so much for being here. Well, I totally talk to almost everybody, so when it comes down to it. 357 proof, guilty. Of course he's guilty because there's proof that all those boxes contain just that little bit of paper. Kelly's claims are backed up by reporting from Washington Post over the FBI found at Mar-a-Lago last summer when it raided Trump's home. Inside the boxes, archivists found 197 classified documents, some extremely sensitive, the government alleged in court filings. That discovery set in motion the chain of events that led to unsealing Friday of a 38-count indictment against Trump and Walt Nauta, a trusted servant. The federal government and the media were coming after Trump with everything they can collectively muster. A casual viewer of this latest witch hunt might see images of Trump's private residence in the boxes and come to a conclusion that former president was living among hoarded government secrets. Yeah, he wasn't even able to go to the bathroom without actually, just grabbing a stack of paper and just kind of digging through it and being like, well, okay, we'll wipe her butt with this one. Maybe we'll wipe her butt with this one. This one's kind of fun and kind of juicy. We'll set this one aside. What the? You really kidding me right now? A casual viewer in the latest witch hunt might see images of Trump's. Oh, I'm sorry. As Kelly brilliantly pointed out, this is simply not the case. Trump might be guilty of needing to make some time better utilize his space. But per usual, the media's collective portrayal of anything relating to the former president relies on dramatic overreactions, hyperbole, and lies. This article appeared originally on the Western Journal. It's really interesting to actually see this picture here This is exactly how many documents were actually found, and they're actually all in one box. One box, not multiple different boxes strewn across different rooms or whatever, or in the bathroom. This to me looks like this would might have been actually staged where they actually went ahead and they were putting these boxes somewhere where they already had searched and there was nothing. So like, okay, we'll use that room. Let's use the bathroom, start stacking the boxes that we supposedly think are something, and which create these pictures so that way this can actually become bigger than what it really is. Um, gun nut issues. I am a police officer, not a YouTube, but it's all good. You do you. We enjoy anybody and all different types of opinions and thoughts. So if you got something to share, something to go along, some different thoughts to go along with all this, share it. We're down. So, like I said, I did have what Byron Donalds actually did say in his tweet. So this is breaking. MAGA rep Byron Donalds gives the most jaw-dropping defense yet in Donald Trump's illegal mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. With a trace of irony or shame, Donalds insisted that it wasn't actually a big deal that boxes full of documents were discovered in the bathroom because there are 33 bathrooms at Mar-a-Lago and Secret Service is all over the place. So don't act like it's just in some random bathroom that the guests can go into. It's not true. As if number of bathrooms somehow makes storing documents in one somehow safer. This is where the Republican Party is at this point. They can no longer deny that Donald Trump did. All they can do is invent increasingly hilarious defenses for his crimes. The American people see right through the pathetic charade. Wrong, wrong. RT retweet and heart the support to convicting of Donald Trump. We don't really actually go along with the words of Occupy Democrats, but at the same time, to actually see Occupy Democrats actually trying to say, "Oh, see, look what they've done." Now they're just going to try saying, "Oh, it's okay that these are in this particular bathroom because there's 33 bathrooms. Let's go against that. Hurry up." The whole thing is fucking ridiculous. Jack Smith did it again. Grand jury not told about Clinton Sox case or Presidential Records Act. That's something. Grand jury was not told. They're like, nah, well, we can omit whatever information we wish. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay for us to do that. No, it's not. No, it's not. You got to give them all the information so that they can actually do their job correctly. On Tuesday, before the arraignment by the political rival Joe Biden, President Trump posted on Truth Social this stunning remark. The grand jury was never told about the Presidential Records Act or the Clinton Sox case, both exonerating. From our earlier reports from the Trump campaign, the curious history of Jack Smith. From 2010 to 2015, Smith served under Obama's Attorney General Eric Holder. Leading the public integrity section, Smith served under Obama Attorney General Eric Holder, leading the DOJ's public integrity section from, I think I just kind of read that sentence twice. 2010 to 2015, Smith led the team of 30 prosecutors in conducting public corruption cases throughout the United States, including a mixed track record of going after high-profile politicians. He also inserted the DOJ into what would become the Lois Lerner IRS scandal targeting conservative nonprofit groups during the Obama years, which Trump has criticized him for since he became special counsel. After leaving his DOJ post in 2015, Smith served as the first assistant United States attorney and acting United States attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee. After leaving the DOJ in 2015, Smith headed to Tennessee, where he served as the first assistant United States attorney and acting United States attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee. President Trump is not the first Republican executive Smith has over prosecuted. Smith prosecuted Republican Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, whose conviction was unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court. Smith's prosecution of former Republican Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell failed when his conviction was unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court. Smith's DOJ biography in 2015 touted that while Chief of Public Integrity Section, Smith helped with the prosecution against McDonnell, who was indicted and convicted on federal corruption charges related to bribery in 2014. The case is being prosecuted by Smith's deputy in the Public Integrity Section. McDonnell was investigated while governor, indicted shortly after leaving office in January 2014, convicted in September 2014, and sentenced to 2 years in prison in 2015. The Supreme Court unanimously overturned McDonnell's conviction in the summer of 2016. They're probably it was a good thing for them to actually go ahead and actually overturn such a conviction in 2016 before Trump caught wind of all of it and would have actually probably done it himself and just said, no, okay, let's just let this guy go. Jack Smith is married to a left-wing movie producer and Joe Biden donor. Smith is married to Katie Shevigny, a producer of Becoming, a documentary on Michelle Obama. Becoming, huh? Becoming what? Big Mike, what were you becoming? The wife of newly appointed special counsel Jack Smith is a filmmaker who produced the movie about former First Lady Michelle Obama and donated to President Biden's 2020 campaign. Katie Shevigny is credited for producing and Becoming a 2020 Why are they just repeating themselves? I don't think that was from the New York Post. That's why. New York Post always repeats themselves as much as they possibly can. Shevigny contributed $2,000 to the 2020 Biden campaign Federal Election Commission. Records show that she donated $2,000 in support for Biden's presidential run that same year. On Wednesday morning, the Gateway Pundit spoke with two attorneys who gave us the same explanation. Jack Smith did not tell the grand jury about the Presidential Records Act or the Clinton Sox case because he didn't have to. Both of those cases exonerate President Trump. Jack Smith did it again. How does this guy keep a job? It appears Jack Smith may be the only liar here. Interesting thought when he actually comes down to it that, Jack Smith may be the only liar that's there, that's able to get away with as much as he wants. And keep his job at the same time because he just omits and submits the things that he wants, and he's able to get away with it as long as he can. Thanks for the hospitality. I have a few more folks I need to say hello to tonight. I will see y'all again. Thanks again. You have a good one, YouTube, please. Hello, Shizzy was not. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Suzanne says, I'm going to bounce. I'm feeling very groovy tonight. Good night. Oh, peace out. Later, Suzanne. Sleep well, dear. All right. Well, we're just going to kind of move on from this or whatever because, it's the easiest way to do something, right? Look the other way. It's just that easy. So, it was out of all the documents that were actually there, the ones that they're actually trying to produce or say that were something that need to be looked at, just so happened to be some that had something to do with Iran. And we watched and we heard when he actually attacked Soleimani in Iraq, who was Iranian. Um, they're trying to say that that was something that was, part of these documents that he was actually trying to supposedly take. The biggest scandal in Trump's indictment: U.S. war plans for Iran. Now, this isn't the first time that somebody's had war plans for Iran. You ain't gonna tell me this is the President Trump was gonna attack Iran. Nah, he wasn't gonna attack Iran whatsoever. He was the one that actually bolstered as much peace as he possibly could, coming up with 4 nominations for Nobel Peace Prize for his peace in the Middle East. But okay, let's point fingers at him real quick, and because most of us don't remember that because we don't pay attention to everything that's out there. Donald Trump indictment was the biggest news this week, but what was lost in the typical Trump absurdities of documents in ballrooms and bathrooms and revelation of U.S. plans to attack Iran? The blockbuster news of the week this week is Donald Trump's latest indictment. This one is, let me see, make that a little bit bigger for myself. This one was more robust ground than his first for the unprecedented act of prosecuting a former president. It's worth reading the whole indictment, if for no reason than the high comedy of Trump's cartoonish levels of lawbreaking and self-incrimination, placing the boxes upon boxes of classified documents in the bathroom, on stage, and in the ballroom in a full public view, privately discussing how to lie, to mislead the FBI, and constantly telling visitors how very, very secret his documents are and how he shouldn't have to be showing them to people. The case was monopolized national attention in the past few days, with a broad range of commentators expressing outrage and condemning Trump for potentially compromising U.S. nuclear secrets, weapons capabilities, defensive vulnerabilities, and plans for waging war on Iran. Nuclear secrets, are not secret. They're well known. They've been well known for a long time that we actually have them in our own possession, as well as have given them to other countries to actually possess temporarily for use when needed, as well as Russia doing the same thing. We actually just went through nuclear stuff within the last 2 days here. Defensive vulnerabilities and plans and waging war in Iran. Waging war in Iran isn't something that Trump ever really wanted. He wanted to actually create peace. He wanted to create as much peace as he possibly could. He found it. Explained to that he could and should have done away with Soleimani when he did, and he allowed it to occur. Is that war crime? No, not necessarily. You want to call war crimes, we can go back to Bush and we can actually start calling war crimes with him. Wait, war with Iran? Yes. In a detail that has been almost entirely glossed over, central to this case is a set of secret government plans for attacking Iran. Other than the pure factual matter or to stress how recklessly Trump treated classified information, this has been little remarked upon, even as forthright as condemnations of wars and aggression and paeans of international law have taken center stage in U.S. political discourse over the past year. The issue stems from Trump's apparent frustration with what he claimed was a false narrative being pushed by the press. I love how this article is like totally left. They're like, point fingers at him, hurry up. Under the advice of then Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was briefly removed from power before returning last November, and the coterie of Iran hawks, he surrounded himself with Trump was dangerously close to ordering strikes on Iran that could have triggered full-scale war and had to be talked down from it by Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley. Yes, Mr. Woke Mark Milley is the one that actually talked him out of this. Sure he did. According to the indictment in the recorded interview Trump gave at his New Jersey golf club in July 2021 to a writer and publisher working on the upcoming book, the former president maintained the reality of the situation was the exact opposite, that it was Milley and the Pentagon who were pushing for an attack on Iran. In a reluctant Trump, and that was classified documents he had kept were proof of this. Specifically, Trump showed them a pages long set of plans for attacking Iran that he says were independently drawn up by the military and presented to him. Because he's not a war advocate. He's really not. He's not. He's known. He is actually known for being one of the first presidents to actually not start a new war. This totally wins my case, Trump allegedly said, according to the indictment. Except it is like highly confidential. Hilariously, Trump also went on to say that as president, I could have declassified it, but now I can't. One of my instances in the indictment of Trump effectively doing prosecutors' job for them. It's difficult to know what to believe here. The original New Yorker article, which came out of interviews conducted by author Susan Glasser and her husband, New York Times reporter Peter Baker, points to reporting from the Wall Street Journal's Michael Bender and Washington Post's Philip Rucker and Carol Lenig of corroboration, each of whom put out their own books about the final years of Trump's presidency. But neither of those books features a particular episode. In fact, while Rucker and Lening's I Alone Can Fix It alleges that Milley told a confidant that he viewed preventing war with Iran before 2021 inauguration as one of his missions. It also depicts Milley as one of the advisors urging Trump's drone assassination on Iranian Quds Force Commander General Qasem Soleimani, and 1 year anniversary in which fell on January 3rd, 2021, which was the reason there were fears of some kind of Iranian attack in Trump's lame duck period at all to begin with. Lame duck period, huh? All right. Baker's own reporting on the assassination at the time didn't depict Milley as in the best light, as he's justified the reckless strike on the basis of reportedly vague intelligence about threats that didn't actually come to pass. On the other hand, Milley has been a voice of restraint in other wars, including during Joe Biden's presidency, and Trump is relentless career-long liar. Whatever the case, the bigger point here is that there are U.S. war plans for Iran at all. One could argue that the military was to draw up, but wait a minute here. Whatever the case, the bigger point here is that there are U.S. war plans for Iran at all. Excuse me? At all? I think if we actually go back and we actually pay attention to previous wars that were fought in Iraq and in and around that region, I believe if we actually think about that correctly, there were some 7 countries in the region that the United States has interest in because of its mass amount of oils and other, commodities that can come out of that region. When it actually comes down to it, this isn't something that Trump really started. This is something that goes back a lot further than Trump. You can go all the way back into some of those deep state players, as Bush and his weapons of mass destruction. One could argue that the military has drawn up potential plans of all kinds of contingencies, even if the fact that they allegedly passed it on the Trump suggests this was more than just hypothetical. Break glass in case of emergency document filed away in obscurity. But this comes in the midst of the years ratcheting up tensions between not just Iran and the United States, but maybe more dangerously, Iran and Israel. Uh, the latter's government has been pushing for the Biden administration to take more aggressive posture toward Iran for years, pressure that has been ratcheted up under Netanyahu's current hardline government, which has carried out its own strikes inside Iran and done several major and threatening joint exercises with the U.S. military, including one just last week. More recently, the Discord leaks of Pentagon intelligence revealed that the CIA itself doesn't know how serious Israel is, but its threats to attack. Even so, the White House has signaled it would approve of whatever Israel decides to do, even if Israel ends up sparking a regional war or even drags the United States into a fray, a radical reversal of U.S. posture under President Barack Obama. Oh my fucking lord. I love how they actually like tried turning things around and being like, well, because it was all good under this guy, under Barack Obama. Sure it was. I think we could actually go back into 2014. We could actually see there's a lot of things that happened under the Obama administration that we aren't so proud of. And while Washington and Tehran have thankfully made recent progress as nuclear talks that Biden himself declared dead last year, that may no matter, Netanyahu, no doubt emboldened by the White House's ironclad support, has more or less explicitly said that whatever agreement is struck, Israel won't be bound by it and won't consider Iran's nuclear program stopped, justifying unilateral strikes regardless, even as the Pentagon's own National Defense Strategy paper openly states that Iran not only doesn't have a nuclear weapon, but it isn't even currently pursuing one. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. I would almost have to disagree with that. I would doubt that that's actually the truth. I would seriously doubt that that's the truth, that they don't have one. But isn't even currently pursuing one. The existence of U.S. war plans for Iran suggests it wouldn't take much for Israeli attacks to draw the United States into yet another disastrous war, particularly if Iran retaliates, particularly if it winds up killing Americans in the process, whether intentionally or not. Any such war would be a calamity, not just for innocent Iranians, but around the world, further destabilizing oil prices and adding to the economic havoc from the war in Ukraine that's already caused much secondary human suffering, while potentially creating the conditions for much bigger and more dangerous confrontation. Iran's deepening alliance with Russia, after all, could draw Moscow into the war, turning the country into a second front of global proxy battle between two nuclear superpowers, the United States and Russia, while adding a third nuclear power, Israel, into the volatile mix. Well, Israel has nukes because of the United States. How many other countries are going to have nukes because of other countries? I seriously doubt Iran doesn't have. Uh, you could almost put it up to they do have some sort of a nuclear weapon. We're not nearly there yet, but it's incumbent on all peace-loving people in the United States to work now proactively to stop the scenario from coming to pass, not just to ensure the past rhetoric about illegal wars, imperialism, human rights, and international law isn't mere hollow, cynical posturing, but to prevent even more needless death and suffering. Unfortunately, what seems like collective disinterest in the U.S. Israeli march to war in the present otherwise doesn't bode well for those efforts. It's very interesting that they're actually trying to actually point fingers at Trump as being that one that would actually be the guy that has something to do with the potentiality of war in Iraq or Iran. When like I said earlier, there's no way that none of us understand where weapons of mass destruction under Bush's administration actually, started from, and where it was actually going to head. Had it actually been able to continue doing what it was doing, I really do believe um, that this is a big, huge lie in itself. That they're actually trying to say, "Oh, these were part of the documents. These are part of the documents, and we need to actually, look into this." You know, looking at this picture here, looking at this picture of this wonderful man that was once our president and once will be again, in my opinion. You notice he doesn't have all of the same little weirdness, stretching, face stuff going on that it happens so much with Joe Biden. I'm so glad that this man is actually just like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to go through all this facial reconstruction just so I can actually look younger than I actually am. He actually stands up for what he's for, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's fine for him to look the way he does. Why? Because he is who he is. He doesn't need to actually look anything different. Holy crap, hour and a half in already. Damn. So then just a little funny to go along with this Trump stuff. What is this? I'm about to smack you, Tarlev Waters throws down the tense argument over Trump. So, Fox News, it's a horrible place. Nobody should actually watch it. Don't go there. Don't watch it. Don't watch, just like any other mass media. Stay away. It's trash. A Fox News segment went off the rails as several co-hosts got into a heated debate over former President Donald Trump's arraignment. During the segment of The Five, the table discussed Trump's appearance in Miami for his arraignment on the case brought against him by special counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed by Biden's Department of Justice. Trump pleaded not guilty. His attorneys in federal court. The federal judge granted Trump a pretrial release. Why do they keep on doing this? With no special conditions, accepted no contact of witnesses. Smith was charged Trump with 37 counts related to handling the classified documents. If he is found guilty on all counts, Trump, who is President Joe Biden's chief rival for next year's presidential election, could face decades in prison. The conversation with the Five heated up almost immediately when Tarlov, a known liberal, cited Hillary Clinton's claim that the Republican Party has become a cult. I don't think it's a cult, but I think that Donald Trump holds an almost mystical level of power and control over a large swath of Republican base, and they're immune to taking in new information, new negative information, new dangerous information, new potentially criminal information about him. As that's what we're doing. As that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to take in all of it as much as we possibly can. What's up, Mimsy? Good to see you, dear. Tarlev continued. The Presidential Records Act and Andy McCarthy was talking about earlier, it doesn't apply to agency documents. So the way that people are using this to say, I think you said it yesterday, Jesse. Oh, he's allowed to do this. He's not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to do it. Good argument, Waters sarcastically said while smirking. Tarlev shot back, yeah, it's a good argument, and he's not allowed to have those documents. He's not, he can't decide when he declassifies them. He admitted that on tape, which is going to be a huge piece of evidence in this. So stop using the Presidential Records Act. No, we're going to continue to use Presidential Records Act because that's exactly what actually allows him to declassify what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants. Things got heated quickly and led to Waters declaring, "I will use that act whenever I damn well please." To which Tarlov replied, "Well, continue to do it inaccurately." Wrong. He's doing it accurately. This person is just ridiculous to the point. Waters remarked, "I'm glad I printed it out. Thank God I printed it out because I'm about to smack you with the act in a second." So threats of violence by the left, because that's what they know how to do. What's threaten you with violence? I'm going to actually smack you with the document. Tarlov shot back, "When everyone says this is unprecedented, the problem is that Donald Trump is doing things that are unprecedented, and we don't know that these documents weren't compromised. We heard about that there were two Chinese national intruders who know that he waved around a classified document." Yeah, there's just a classified document. It's right here. Come get it. Come look. Come look at this one right here. I got something for you. Just waving it around. Waters began laughing and asked, "Now you care about Chinese nationals?" Didn't care about Chinese nationals a few years ago, did they? They had no clue and no cares. That led to Tarlov and Waters going after one another even more. Tarlov, "The amount of deflection that goes on. I say something about China and you go fang fang, or I say something about this and then you just throw out Hunter Biden as a crack addict. Who cares? Talk about what happened today. Talk about the indictment and don't make things up." But when it comes down to it, Tarlov, why don't we actually talk about Hunter Biden and his dealings in Burisma and the $5 million to each him and his big guy daddy? Why would you not look at it? Why are we gonna continuously just be like, well, let's look at what happened today? Just pay attention to this, because if you pay attention to everything else, it just makes whatever this is look very small. Because that's exactly what it is, just some small little thing that is irrelevant to anything. Waters, before I get to the act, which I have here, you said something that the Trump voters are immune from taking in new information. That's such BS, Jessica, because you're actually learning about the Presidential Records Act. We're learning about the Espionage Act, and we're actually making legal arguments and using precedent and comparisons to know the Justice Department has treated Democrats. Waters concluded, "You're the ones that don't want to take in any new information." Exactly. Right, Joe Biden? Potato. So, kind of an interesting spat of words between the two. From Tarlov actually throwing out some ridiculous, "Oh, you bring up Fang Fang." Yeah, that's not where my mind went when they said China. My mind went totally into November 2019. That's where my mind went on that. Hunter Biden is a crack addict. Nope, that's not where my mind went with Hunter Biden. It went to Burisma. It went to all the other things that are actually being overlooked. So, again, Waters pointed out directly the way it is, and they overlook any other new information and just go ahead with what they actually think and believe, just spread their bullshit. Yes, I know it's Fox News. It's kind of funny and interesting that they actually get into this argument as much as they do. That she actually felt the need to actually go ahead to say, "I'm about to smack you at the act in a second." So it's like she got so angry and so agitated that she felt the need to actually, go after him with violence. Kind of move on from some of that. We'll kind of brush it off for the night and go after some other stuff here. Let's see if I got quite a few things to actually push through here in this last bit. So Far left presidential candidate announces major party shift that could sink Biden's reelection bid. I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm like, really? So he's actually going to do something else? This guy, extremist Cornel West, announced Tuesday that he will run for the Green Party rather than the People's Party of the Third Party campaign. So, third party campaign, Cornel West actually going to go up there and actually try. He's communisted himself. Why he'd actually think that he's anything different is ridiculous. And there's so many things that this guy is actually about that so many don't understand. West appeared as the left-wing podcaster Katie Halper's show to make the announcement, later released a statement on Twitter about his party change. In the spirit of broad united front and coalition strategy, I'm pursuing the nomination for Green Party for the President of the United States. Go to cornelwest24.com for the more information to continue supporting the unprecedented effort to empower precious, poor, and working people here and abroad. I thank the volunteers of the People Party for the initial launch. West is a longtime left-wing activist and academic who became the close ally to independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders during his unsuccessful 2016-2020 Democratic presidential campaigns. A proponent for democratic socialism, West has also defended Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' support for classical education. Some Democrats reportedly fear West's candidacy could play spoiler in the general election by causing a small fraction of liberal voters to support him over Biden. According to Politico, West endorses Green Party candidate Jill Stein in the 2016 general election, who Democrats accuse of taking votes away from Hillary Clinton in her loss to former President Donald Trump. He voted for Joe Biden in 2020 election because he was better than fascism, and a fascist catastrophe is worse than a neoliberal disaster, he said in the University of Pennsylvania. What? A fascist catastrophe is worse than a neoliberal disaster. Isn't that something? Fascists calling other people fascists. Isn't that how it always works? It's unclear whether we will pursue the candidacy through the 2024 election. If the scenario arises where West could swing the election to a Republican nominee, Politico reported. The Green Party has ballot access in the 2024 election in over a dozen states, including Wisconsin and Michigan. Its website says the party is also working to obtain ballot access in Georgia, where Biden defeated Trump in 2020 by roughly 22,000 votes, election data shows. It's kind of a small number when you think about it, 22,000. It's only just a small little town. West originally planned to run for People's Party, drew skepticism because of a left-wing alternative founded in 2017, only has ballot access in Florida, and its brief existence in the People's Party has been plagued with infighting and allegations of sexual misconduct against its founder. Biden is being challenged in the Democrat primary by left-wing activist Marianne Williamson and skeptic Robert Kennedy Jr. A May 25th CNN poll showed Kennedy at 20%, Williamson at 7%, Democratic primary compared to 60% of Biden. Really? 60% for Biden? Lie to me. The same poll shows 7% of Democrats aligned voters would definitely not support Biden in the general election if he wins the party's nomination. Biden is polling slightly below Trump and DeSantis in the Real Clear Politics. Really? You're going to actually go to Real Clear Politics for the numbers? Of national general election polls, the RCP data does not account for state level polling in crucial swing states. Of course it doesn't. Why would it? Either way, Cornel West, Green Party, socialist in himself, trying to actually take away supposedly from Biden's reelection bid. fine, let's go. Let's do that. Let's have fun with that. Let's actually go ahead and let him do what he wants to do, and don't vote for him, or whatever. Allow people, some of them, to vote for him, so that way numbers can kind of go different ways as opposed to where they are. I'm sure that we'll talk more about Cornell West within the next few months. Real wages under Joe Biden mirrored down for the 26th straight month in May, a new U.S. record. Real wages in America under Joe Biden are down again in May. Americans have seen their wages decrease by 2.7% under Joe Biden. Real wages in America during the Trump years were up to 7.3. There's quite an interesting little graphic here that actually shows the actual it says help from back their retirement accounts with gold. So this is U.S. real average weekly earnings 1982 1984 U.S. dollar year over year. Last price was negative 0.07. So or 0.7. So when you actually look at this graphic and you actually pay attention to it really, really closely, and you actually see, election years, you see, look at this 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, and you can kind of see just as the years end, years, start or whatever, 11 into 12, it kind of started going up. Oh, look at that, 15, 16, it went up. Went down a little bit for just a short bit between 16 and 17. But also look at this huge skyrocket of weekly earnings under the Trump administration, or just before Biden would have actually come into play. Right? And we actually look at this closer and we're like, oh, that's kind of fun to actually see. Then also you look at 2021, 2022, and 2023 that we're currently dealing with, and you can see immediately average weekly earnings plummet to the lowest they had ever plummeted in 2022. Currently, it's not as bad, but look at all that in the red. And this is the best economy that the world actually has for us right now? Or really? We're in the best economy that we've ever had? Why are they lying to us over and over again? Is there a reason they need to continue to lie to us over and over again? With May's numbers in the 26th straight month of negative real earnings, the stretch is twice as long as the global financial crisis and represents 93% of Biden's tenure. And again, they actually reiterate that graphic that actually just shows exactly that plummet all the way down into, that's ridiculous. That's scary to actually think that, month after month after month after month in the red. And we just so happen to think that this guy is the best guy for the job. I don't think so. I'm against him. Anything to go against Joe Biden would impeach the potato. Impeach the potato. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. It's not something that we need. Dems cooking up a scheme to install Kamala Harris as president, insider says. Oh, really? We're just going to, let's go and install that person. Let's just let her go ahead and take it cackling as she is. A growing number of Democrats have reportedly growing more at ease with the idea of Vice President Kamala Harris could step into the Oval Office and fulfill the commander-in-chief duties, which is why they are pushing for President Joe Biden to be reelected, according to some insiders. According to the recent Suffolk University USA Today poll published on Tuesday, 86% of Democrat Biden supporters expressed either a high or moderate level of comfort with the prospect of Harris assuming the presidency in the event that both Biden and Harris are reelected for another 4 years and Biden is unable to complete his term. again, why are they lying to us over and over again? 86% of Democrats believe that uh, Harris should be okay for this position. Are you kidding me right now? She can't even go to the southern border. She can't even go to the southern border to actually look at that to see what's going on. What is she going to do as president? Absolutely nothing. According to insiders who spoke with Fox News Digital, the possibility of Harris ascending to the presidency is considered a highly plausible scenario, which could potentially send a significant political ripple across the nation and would undoubtedly affect all Americans. The DNC's strategy to ensure the Democratic establishment remains in power is to reelect Joe Biden no matter how old or capable he is, and then get him to resign or step aside or resign and step aside and install Kamala Harris as president, said former Hawaii Rep. Tulsi Gabbard, an independent who ran for president in 2020 as a Democrat. She'll be untested and unelected and ready to act as a Democratic establishment's puppet president. She will then have the advantage and power of incumbency to run in 2028. Which is really seriously scary to think about that, if that's the case, that they're actually willing to go to this point of actually saying that Kamala Harris, just might be looking at such a thing. Well, we really need to hope that Joe Biden selects somebody else as his vice president. He doesn't need her as vice president. She has failed to be vice president in the first place, just as well as he's failed to actually be president. We all know who's running the show. Obama. None of this is possible if Biden doesn't run. If Kamala were to try to run for president herself, there'd be heavy competition and no way she would win. This is why we're united around Joe Biden's reelection to ensure Kamala Harris is able to assume the throne unchallenged. She said Harris is clearly not qualified to serve as commander-in-chief and that it would be disastrous and dangerous for the country if she were to become the first female president. This should be a major issue for voters, but the mainstream media will continue to try to cover for her because they don't want the American people to know the truth. A president, Kamala Harris, would be disastrous and dangerous for all Americans and our country. Doug Schoen, a Democratic pollster who is also founder and partner with Schoen Cooperman Research, similarly agrees that Harris isn't ready for prime time and pointed to her regularly dismal approval ratings. Democrats may be happy with Kamala Harris taking over, but the rest of the electorate almost certainly is not. Harris has lower approval ratings than Biden and remains very much an open question to the electorate whether she is ready and indeed able to govern. We have to remember why Joe Biden actually put her in the place that he did and actually gave her the vice presidency after her herself actually called him a racist bigot because of his own words. When she goes and she calls him a racist, then he turns around and says, well, I'm going to give you the job because I want to prove that I'm not. It just proves again that he is indeed just that, because that is the reason why he gave her the job. Exactly. Leo Terrell, a civil rights lawyer and contributor to the Fox News, believes that Democrats will try to sell the country to Biden-Harris package for 2024. They have no choice. Democrats would alienate their most loyal constituency, Black females, if they do not sell Harris as a viable replacement for President Biden. This is the problem Democrats will face because they play identity politics. When you select a candidate based on skin color or an ethnicity in lieu of competence, you end up with Kamala Harris. Moreover, the Democratic donor base has demanded that Harris be presented as a competent replacement. There's no way in hell American public believe that Kamala Harris is qualified to replace Joe Biden or to serve a single second as president of the United States of America. Mark Loder, a former special assistant to President Trump, who was the chief communications officer for America's First Policy Institute, said Harris's low polling numbers didn't surprise him. Make no mistake, Harris will certainly be an anchor on the Democratic ticket, given her horrible approval ratings and history of being a very poor candidate, he told the network. Democrats are campaigning for Biden with the ultimate hope that Biden will continue to be healthy and last through the 4 years, added Hank Scheinkauf, a former Democratic consultant to the Clinton Gore campaign. So even some Democrats are totally against the thought of her being president. And we just continue to actually just allow this to occur. And used to be, and I know it was only the first like 3 or 4 presidents that actually did it. It used to actually be that the one that was actually running against the president that didn't actually get elected for president was the one that was appointed to vice president. It wasn't whoever you randomly wanted to select. It was a specific person. I think we should almost go back to that because that would actually make things very, very interesting to see what checks and balances across the board. Elon Musk goes against Joe Biden's thoughts on they're not your kids. You are the government. Exactly. Joe Biden likes to say, though, they're all our kids. No, they're not. They're not. My kid is not your kid. Your kid is not my kid. And definitely not this guy's. I don't want this guy having anything to do with my child. Twitter boss Elon Musk has rebuked Joe Biden after Democrat presidential administration made an astounding communist-style anti-family claim that LGBTQI plus children are all our kids. Biden issued a pandering statement that said, "These are our kids. These are our neighbors, not somebody else's kids. They're all our kids." Nope, wrong. Not your kids. My kid is not yours. You do not have the right to my child. You do not have right to actually choose what happens to my child. And there's nobody that's going to actually change that. And our children are the kite strings that hold our national ambitions aloft. It matters a great deal how we treat everyone in this country. LGBTQ Americans, especially children, you are loved, you are heard, and this administration has your back. LGBTQ children on this in its own sounds a little disturbing and maybe reckless. Enter Elon Musk to slam Biden over the anti-parent comments. You are the government, Musk blasted. You are not. They are not your kids. They're not his kids. They're not. My child is not his. This comes as transgender activist Rose Montoya was banned from the White House as he flashed his breasts during Biden's Pride Month event. The White House issued a statement that said this behavior is inappropriate and disrespectful. Why they added this to the end of the story is kind of really something that really didn't need to actually be added to the end of it, but it really kind of reiterates the point of the disgustingness of what LGBTQIA plus 1, 2, 3, XYZ just happen to be about. That's exactly what they're doing. So this Montoya is yeeted from ever going back to the White House ever again. Montoya defended his actions by saying, "I fully support the movement in freeing the nipple. My trans masculine friends are showing off the top surgery scars and living in joy, and I wanted to join them. And because it's perfectly within the law of Washington, D.C., I decided to join them and cover my nipples just to play it safe. This is not the first time that Biden admin has made Marxist comments about American families. As Slate News reported in April, Biden attempted to downplay parents' roles in the children's upbringing by pushing the Marxist ideology that all members of society have an equal say in raising a person's child. Wrong. You don't. The president made the comments while he and the First Lady Joe Biden honored educators in the White House and they were nominated to be Teachers of the Year for 2023. I never thought, as a student of history, I never thought I'd be a president who fighting against elected officials trying to ban and banning books. I've never met a parent wants the politician dictating what their kid can learn and what they can think and who they can be. He then quoted Rebecca Peterson, a calculus teacher from Oklahoma, had been named Teacher of the Year. Rebecca put a teacher's creed into the words when she said, "There's no such thing as someone else's child." No such thing as someone else's child, Biden repeated. Our nation's children are all our children. They're not. They're really seriously not. Just last month, White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre pushed the anti-parent communist ideology that kids belong to all of us. As Slate News reported, Jean-Pierre argued that so-called trans kids belong to the LGBTQ community. That's just disgusting in itself to actually believe that there's trans kids. Stop it. Fucking stop it. It's the kids that are, it's not the kids that are trans. It's the disgustingness and disturbing thoughts that come along with the adult that pushes that. It's the parent is mentally ill. Did the Supreme Court just hand Democrats the keys to winning the House? So, yesterday we actually talked about Alabama. I'm actually going to kick this up really quick because we're after this 2-hour mark. Yesterday we covered Alabama and their gerrymandering rules and laws that they actually kind of went against, and said that, you needed to actually gerrymander a little differently, and you need to actually split up demographics and actually make it so that there's potential for more and more areas to be split into different, split up differently to actually eliminate potential Republicans and bring in more Democrats into the House. So then when it came down to it, a bunch of other states actually kind of, seen what actually happened here, and they're actually jumping on the bandwagon, and they're going to actually do the same thing. So then Louisiana looks like they're going to try doing the same thing. They're actually going to see if they can't get things passed to actually go ahead and change where lines and districts actually are, to actually come up with different a different set of people to actually take care of what is a Republican House currently and turn it into a Democratic House. It is something that we will be really paying attention to as this stuff happens. It should not happen in the USA. Holly goes off in Mayorkas for allegedly allowing child slavery. It's kind of a hard thought in itself to actually believe that Alejandro Mayorkas has actually gone to that level of actually doing such a thing. So it says Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley ridiculed Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and the Biden administration on Wednesday for allegedly allowing child slavery to thrive in the United States. The New York Times reported extensively that the crisis in migrant children being exploited for cheap labor throughout the United States, with thousands of children as young as 13 working in factories. I tell you what I'm tired of. I've had Secretary Mayorkas sit in front of me in different committees, the Homeland Security Committee, where I asked him in length about the outrage of 250,000 migrant children unaccompanied across the border in the last 2 years, and tens of thousands of them being sold into slavery. Let's not mince words. been sold into slavery, when kids are being put into factories, forced to work overnight, forced to work in terrible conditions, they're not getting paid. They're not going to school. Sometimes they're not getting fed. That's slavery. So, it looks as though as Mayorkas has actually gone to the point because he allows these open borders to actually continue, and the amount of people that actually, come flooding into this country, that it looks as though they're allowing teenagers as young as 13 to go ahead and actually do such a thing. Um, Dan Quayle in 2024. What's up, Jay-Z? Good to see you. And what I've heard of Secretary America is, don't take my word for it. You go look at the record, read the transcript. What he told me was, oh, it's not my problem. We don't have anything to do with it. Not my problem. Now we have to have a new report from the Department of Health and Human Services where they say it's not their problem. The Missouri senator continued, amazing how this works. Nobody's responsible. These kids are literally being sold as slaves in the United States of America for the year of 2023, and nobody's responsible. They don't want you to come and testify in the committee. You bet they don't. They don't want to be put under oath. They don't want to answer any questions. They don't want cameras here. They don't want to take any responsibility. Well, I tell you, it's somebody's fault. It's not the kid's fault. Exactly that. Exactly that. As long as we actually all realize that it's not the children's fault that they're actually being forced to actually do this stuff, it's the people that are actually forcing them, and the administration that's allowing them to force such a thing. Holly, that praised the New York Times for its reporting, citing the story as one teen, 15-year-old Carolina Yoke out of Guatemala, who works at Cheerios factory. Yoke told the Times that her stomach often hurts and she's tired due to the lack of sleep and stress. Let the record reflect that this administration has let tens of thousands of children be sold into slavery, and they're doing nothing about it. We need to figure out what this world is going on and who to be held accountable for this. Because I tell you, what's not acceptable answer, it's not acceptable to say, it's not my problem. We wish the kids the best. The kids are in danger. The kids are in slavery, and the kids are being exploited, and it should not happen in the United States of America. Former Border Chief Rodney Scott testified Wednesday during the House Homeland Security Committee hearing that under the Biden administration, the number of migrant children prone to exploitation has increased. Has increased. I wonder why. Nothing to do with that open southern border, but over and over again, Holly goes and points at Mayorkas as being the guy that we need to actually look at and maybe point out that maybe he's the one that we should actually be looking at. That's the one that should be responsible for this 250,000 children that have been dumped into this country. Government allegedly targets conservatives and Christians as terrorist watchdog. Now we're terrorists. We aren't just white supremacists. We're terrorists. Department of Homeland Security is alleging using the anti-terrorism program to target conservatives, Christians, and Republicans. This program is detailed in recent report by nonprofit organization. Through FOIA requests and Media Research Center has able to exclusively obtain documents showing that federal funds allocated to DHS program to prevent violence and terrorism were used to target conservatives, said Dan Schneider, Vice President MRC. The MRC is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to document the counter and falsehoods of censorship in media. The Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program provides funding to state, local, tribal, territorial governments, nonprofits, and institutions of higher education to prevent targeted violence and terrorism, according to DHS. The program is supposed to provide grants to counter targeted violence, such as large gang violence and terrorism. Schneider told Epic TV Crossroads program, however, the application for a grant to extremely vague. Schneider said, for example, projects applying for funding under the program often focus on media literacy. For instance, Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville received a 2022 grant to fund the development of media literacy and online critical thinking skills among local college students so they are better equipped to combat the ever increasing volume of extremist content in online digital space. The description of the project also includes training sessions in local community organizations, the website stated. The University of Rhode Island would use the grant from Department of Homeland Security received in 2022 to counter disinformation, conspiracy theories, propaganda, and domestic extremism in local communities, according to DHS. The applications are so fuzzy, so it is very difficult to find out how DHS evaluates them when it comes to information, misinformation, or disinformation. Schneider said, therefore, this organization reached out to guarantees to find out what the guarantees actually doing. Media research centers obtained documents related to the program participation from 6 to 7 out of about 80 grantees. And Schneider said, actions speak louder than words. These documents are shocking. What DHS found through the Violence and Terrorism Prevention Program was training on how to create dummy social media accounts to create fake infighting among conservatives and to disrupt the work of these conservative organizations, not just conservative, but Christian and faith-based organizations. Which make really when you actually think about it, and it comes down to it, I'm not really conservative, I'm really not. Though I'm considered Christian, and I have a wife and a child and a family that I so dearly love and take care of. Does that make me, conservative in itself? No, not really. Several people actually call me liberal. When it comes down to it, I've heard it so many times, and I'm really not that either. I really don't see myself as being either. I really don't see myself as being, one political aisle or any at all. I'm really kind of down that center, and try to remain there as much as I possibly can because I don't like either side. I don't think either side is worth a damn. Training projects. In 2022, the Department of Homeland Security program rewarded 43 grants totaling $20 million to state, local, and tribal and territorial governments, nonprofits, institutions, and higher education, according to DHS's statement. The funds are supposed to be used to help prevent incidents of domestic violence, extremism, as well as to bolster efforts to counter online radicalization and mobilization to violence. The DHS provided technical, financial, and educational assistance to its grantees, the statement said. The MRC report analyzed the project prevents OH funded from DHS's program carried out by the um, University of Dayton, a private Catholic university in Ohio. The university received grants of about $350 million in September 2022 to implement a training and networking project also focused on media literacy. The objective of Project Prevents Ohio, funded by DHS, is to develop a network of regional organizations to help prevent domestic violence, extremism in Southwest Ohio and beyond, according to the statement by the university. The university promised to draw the expertise of its faculty who research extremism and radicalization in implementing the project. In this statement said, research on extremism. In December 2021, University of Dayton organized a social practice of human rights conference, which featured roundtable on extremism, rhetoric, and democratic precarity. One of the participants, Michael Lodenthal, A postdoctoral research fellow in the University of Cincinnati, presented his lecture, a chart that he claimed depicts the modern far right and extremism in America. The modern far right, but does not look at the left. Don't look at the extreme left. The extreme left is nothing. The chart equates mainstream conservative groups with militant neo-Yazis among the conservative group pictured in a chart are Heritage Foundation, Fox News, National Rifle Association, Breitbart News, Prager University, Turning Point USA, and Christian Broadcasting Network, the American Conservative Union Foundation, Republican National Committee, MAGA movement, and pro-police Blue Lives Matter movement. The Epoch Times did not make the list. Isn't that something? Among the roundtable speakers, such as DHS's agent Joseph J.R. Mastelix, a regional coordinator at the center created in May 2021 to combat domestic violent extremism, who appeared in his official capacity at the event. This chart was among enclosures included in the original grant application submitted by the University of Dayton to DHS to secure funding under the program successfully. The MRC report said Lodenthal also participated in the white nationalism workshop. At the same conference, he explained in his presentation how to create dummy accounts on social media platforms like Telegram, Gab, and Rumble in order to destabilize political movements. Great. I'm glad that he was able to actually explain how to create the dummy accounts. It takes away from those of us that have actually created legitimate accounts on Telegram, Gab, and Rumble. Yes, I am on all those platforms. Do I use them all? Telegram, yeah. Gab, no. Rumble, absolutely. We are actually live on Rumble as we speak. We want to make this group disjointed, less effective. I would like them to be less able to mobilize. This Lodenthal, who described himself as a workshop of Antifa member, one effective member to destabilize right-wing groups is to manufacture a lot of infighting, Lodenthal said. Yeah, manufacture a lot of infighting. Was come up with ways to actually get them to argue with each other as opposed to actually going against the left and the ridiculousness of them. Just that in itself is disturbing in itself to believe that that's what they're actually going and doing. He also told the audience that they could pressure online financial services like GoFundMe, Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, online retailers, and other online service providers to expel people from their networks. Taking away, quote unquote, freedom of speeches as we actually, go along with that, because, if you can go ahead and you can tell me what I can say and what I can actually do on my platforms, and you can actually say, well, he's gone too far, he's too extreme, shut down his PayPal accounts, that eliminates me from being able to get paid through Rumble. And that's something. Because it's an international funding. If I can actually get them to send me a check, but then it takes an extra month to actually get the money because of the way the international funding works. It's ridiculous. Lodenthal advised collecting information intelligence from social media accounts of far right-wing groups and activists, which he also called fascists. So it can be used as strategic purpose of deplatforming. Deplatforming means denying far-right fascist folk any sort of public sphere access, denying them the ability to speak, which is exactly what I just did. So deplatforming, in any way, shape, or form is just that, taking away freedoms of speech. And if you're going to tell me that I can't say something because you want to call me and label me a far-right fascist, let's look who the real fascist actually is on the left. Lodenthal explained with a goal to shut down their websites, to close the meetings, to physically prevent them from assembling in public. A lot of things we're doing are illegal. Lodenthal admitted a lot of it involves breaking the law. He added, How anti-terrorism programs evolved. A grant program to prevent violent extremism in the United States was first proposed by former President Barack Obama in 2011 after Al Qaeda and its affiliates attempted to recruit and radicalize Americans, according to a White House announcement. The program provided taxpayer funded grants to local groups such as police departments, universities, and nonprofit organizations, and others to prevent domestic violent extremism, Obama's proposal said. The first batch of grants was the first time rolled out in 2016 in the Countering Violent Extremist Grant Program during the final years of Obama's second term, according to the Media Research Center's report. In 2017, the Trump DHS halted the program for 3 years before it was reinstated by acting DHS Secretary Kevin McLean. McAleenan. In 2019, the report said McAleenan proposed a new strategy for countering terrorism targeted violence to protect the country from foreign terrorist organizations, domestic actors, inspired by violent extremist ideologies and from attacks not ideologically driven. It was supposed to be preventing terrorism at the border through these programs. During the Trump administration, on average, DHS was stopping and apprehending less than 3 known or suspected terrorists at the border. Terrorists knew that the border was not porous. The border is not a good avenue to try to enter our country. In the last half year alone, Schneider continued, in the Biden administration, they've apprehended almost 100 terrorists. The number of terrorists actually trying to come across our border is skyrocketed under this administration. But instead of using our taxpayer dollars to try to stop that, Department of Homeland Security is using these taxpayer dollars against us. Although Joe Biden promised while he was campaigning for president to end the Trump administration's targeted violence on terrorism prevention program and replace it with a new one, the Biden administration actually revamped it, the report said, like he does everything else. He just goes and takes everybody else's work and makes it his own. We'll just go take this, we'll put this over here, we'll say that I did it. You didn't do shit, Biden. We know better. DHS established a new center, replaced the Trump-era office that administered the program, and created a new intelligence branch within the department of dedicated to domestic terrorism, according to DHS statement. Both new units were tasked with comprehensively combat domestic violent extremism, including violent white supremacy. The Epoch Times reached out to DHS for comment. Yes, of course they reached out for comment. Did they hear anything back? Nope. No, of course not. Because why would they want to actually talk about the stuff that they have to do? Here you go. So, I've actually done a couple different things on this particular instance. This particular bill that was actually trying to get passed through the federal government and banning of gas stoves. We've done this a couple different times. I have a couple different little shorts that are out there about it. So House passed this bill to prohibit federal gas stove ban. The House voted on Tuesday to pass a bill to prohibit any potential federal ban on gas stoves. Yay, we get to keep our gas stoves. Republican North Dakota Rep. Kelly Armstrong sponsored the Gas Stove Protection and Freedom Act, which prohibits the Consumer Product Safety Commission from utilizing taxpayer dollars to enact the outright federal ban of gas stoves. The bill passed by 248 to 180 votes, with 29 Democrats crossing party lines to support the bill, according to Politico. Though there's not currently any legislation mandating a federal gas stove ban on the books, CPSC Commissioner Richard Trumka Jr. in January 2023 that any option is on the table regarding the possible federal ban. Products that can't be made safe can be banned. The bill's passage comes as multiple Democratic-controlled states and municipal governments have pursued their own legislative versions of gas stove bans in recent months. The bill also prevents CPSC from using taxpayer dollars to enforce any consumer safety standard, which would result in the effective removal of gas stoves from the market or any significant increase in their mean price. We know the motivation of the CPSC, and throughout this entire administration is a green climate push. It's exactly that. Uh, this particular tweet that's actually in here from Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, where she actually goes off and rants about it. I had actually produced something and actually put up a rebut to her and actually posted it to that tweet. Um, you could probably go find that tweet and actually see what I had actually said back. Republican lawmakers have pointed to talk the federal gas stove ban and separate proposals for appliance efficiency standards from the Department of Energy as the latest example of Biden administration's propensity for regulatory overreach, according to Politico. Now they want to tell you what kind of stove you have to operate your home and having to pick less efficient and more costly option by banning gas stoves. We're pushing back against that. Ben Lieberman, senior fellow in Competitive Enterprise Institute, told the Daily Caller News Foundation that Biden administration has unleashed two agencies, the Consumer Product Safety Commission and the Department of Energy, to go after gas stoves, despite the fact that American people overwhelmingly prefer to decide for themselves what to put in their kitchens. The vote represents Republican effort to halt bureaucratic meddling for the personal choices and consumers, Lieberman said. As interesting as that is, I've actually used gas stoves before, as my parents always had gas stoves. I really like them a lot better. They work so much more efficiently than electric stoves. I've never actually owned a house of my own, so everything that I've actually been in is an apartment. Apartment complexes across the United States, for the most, require you to actually have electric stoves in place because of safety reasons. It's kind of interesting in itself that is actually something that they're continuing to push. What's up, Toy Box Brain? Good to see you, brother. I'm like 98% dummy. No, you're not. Come on now. I kind of didn't check chat after the last article, so there's a few things in there. Yes, the humanitarian crisis on the border, promoting child slavery. Potato looks like either way, shameful. About to go to bed. All right, 3:57. If I missed you, sleep well. I'm just kind of glancing here. There's a difference between being proud of your color or being supreme burrito. Definitely sickening those using the red alert school flag. Yet the U.S. is all about the freedom of speech, referencing those standing in Disney in Florida with those flags. Oh, the hot tamale. When electricity is finicky, it's developing. Its gas is convenient and legit. Yep. It sure is. Over and over again. You know it. If we didn't realize it already, there you go. A new impeachment motion brought against Biden. Lauren Boebert has accused President Biden of willfully allowing an invasion of illegal immigrants. Again, southern border is wide open. They're just allowing people to flood into our country over and over again, and we're okay with it. This is not the first time that we've actually seen somebody actually come up with articles of impeachment. Marjorie Taylor Greene, now Lauren Boebert. There was somebody, drawing a blank on the name. There was another person that had actually just filed articles of impeachment against him as well, against the whole administration as of yesterday. I'm really seriously drawing a blank on what the name was. So several articles of impeachment that have been brought up against this guy and his administration need to actually be looked at and maybe actually taken into consideration. House caucus breaks MTG's bill to criminalize child sex change operations and puberty blockers. So uh, totally against children using or being submitted to the use of these types of blockers and uh, operations. It's really kind of disturbing because once you actually do it, there's no turning back. You don't get to listen to us and say, "Oh, well, I don't want to be that anymore. I'm going to go ahead and be something else that I'm not, or that I, originally was." It's really kind of disturbing to actually realize that we have to actually go this far and have to actually create a bill to actually stop and prevent these things from actually happening. It says the bill titled Protect Children Innocent Act would charge any person who knowingly provided sex change surgeries, cross sex hormones, or puberty blockers to the minor with a Class C felony, which would lead to prison of up to 10 to 25 years or a maximum fine of $250,000. Making a Class C felony to actually do it, maybe people will actually stop forcing their children to be submitted to such a thing. It's disgusting and very disturbing in itself. California has a couple things that are actually happening that are kind of scary and disturbing in itself. It says requires parents to affirm child identity. California bill highlighting gender affirmation in child custody cases moves forward. California lawmakers and state Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday moved forward with a measure that would require courts to consider a parent's acceptance of their child's gender identity in custody of visitation cases. As the mother of a trans child, it is jarring to know that the TGI youth are at higher risk of depression, mental health crises, um, self harm, and suicide than their cisgendered peers, said Assembly Member Lori Wilson, the bill's author, in a statement. The TGI Youth Empowerment Act provides California with the opportunity to take one step closer to building a safer, more dignified, and equitable world for TGI youth and their families. The bill, Assembly Bill 957, now heads the Senate floor despite concerns of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle as to how courts will interpret this measure. Multiple senators on Tuesday hearing indicated that they want Wilson to clarify in the bill if gender affirmation solely means acceptance and support for the child's identity, or if it also includes providing gender affirming health care, including surgery and medication. Others raised concerns about how the bill might affect those who practice certain religions. Lawmakers in support of the measure noted gender affirmation would not be the ultimate requirement for judges to determine which parents get custody and how much visitation they receive. They noted a number of other factors will still be considered in those cases. Republican Senator Scott Wilk criticized the measure, noting that for now, this just applies to divorce cases while raising concerns about the requirement for parent gender affirmation might spill into other sectors of society. If you love your children, you need to flee California, Wilk said. And that's just it. If you love your children, get the fuck out of there. Because the second that something's not right, say, mom decides that, he said that he was gay. He said he was gay. He wanted to be a girl. So, this, that, and the other, using different words to mean different things. And all of a sudden dad says, no, it's a boy, stop it. Dad can actually be brought up on charges for not allowing them to actually, be what they want. It's really seriously super stupid to go after the other parent. So as opposed to just the one parent weaponizing their child against the other, now the government's going to step in and they're going to weaponize the child. they're going to weaponize the child against the other. Sounds sick and disturbing in itself. And somebody's going to actually do something, and it's not going to turn out well. It's not going to turn out well for anybody that has anything to do with it. California bill would make insurance fund unlimited attempts to create motherless and fatherless children. What's up with California? What's going on, California? There's a difference between being proud of your color and being supreme. Oh, I already read all that. For some reason. I'm wet dishwashing hands right now, so I type with myself. All right. If people use common sense more often, understood how wrong it is to make children go through that, bills like those wouldn't be necessary to protect them. Exactly. Really hope that the legislation passes. I hear you and agree. I really know common sense with these people. How else will the youth be protected from parents with twisted ideologies? Some people have no right to be parents. I agree there too. Some people really don't have the right to become parents. If they're going to go and weaponize their children against the other, and or create whatever it is that they want to create. Be like, well, I'm upset that I have a son. I wanted a daughter, so I'm going to go and remove his penis, and that's going to be it. That's going to be it, and that's what's going to happen. And I don't care what the other parent has to say. Disgusting. This one, California bill would make insurance fund unlimited attempts to create motherless and fatherless children. In a marriage and family world, equality based on adult emotions and preferences will always result in true inequality for children. Marriage, once the most child-friendly institution in the world, is now being redefined in the name of equality, and is argued some same-sex couples just wanted to visit one another in the hospital, have access to same inheritance laws, and get the same tax breaks as heterosexuals. We were told that ad nauseum that marriage had nothing to do with children. 8 years post Obergefell, and it's clear we were lied to. As we have seen in every country in redefined marriage, the redefinition of parenthood follows quickly in its heels. Court decisions mandating the state-sanctioned falsification that children have two moms at birth, deeming the term mother and father unconstitutional. Andrew Cuomo supporting commercial surrogacy, surrogacy in the name of fairness and equality from LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. In all of this, it is clear that children are the permanent victims of gay marriage. Gay marriage and children's rights to their mother and father cannot coexist. California's Senate Bill 729, again, California, offers one of the clearest connections between adult equality and child victimization. Take it from the child violating bill's co-author, Senator Caroline Mangivar, who notes the legislation is critical to achieving full-lived equality for LGBTQ plus people. The bill has passed in the Senate and advanced to Assembly. As of June 1st, it was referred to the Committee on Health and awaiting a hearing date. But how does this bill provide a full-lived equality for LGBT couples? First, SB 729 redefines infertility for the purpose of insurance coverage. Infertility is typically defined as 12 months of unprotected heterosexual sex without pregnancy or birth. But what about gay couples? 12 months or 12 years of unprotected homosexual sex will never produce a baby. Thus, California's more equitable definition of infertility will include a person's inability to reproduce, either as an individual or with their partner without medical intervention. Never mind that every adult operating under the expanded infertility definition will be creating a child who is intentionally motherless or fatherless, a child who will experience an inevitable mother hunger or father hunger as they are deprived of their natural right to both. True equality seems to require that children lose a parent or two. Next, because same sex couples cannot create children organically, synthetic baby making is required. SB 729 will force insurance companies to cover in vitro fertilization for medically and rationally infertile. Never mind that children created in vitro in glass experience higher rates of physical and developmental struggles. Equality demands that child's conception be directed by technician rather than in loving embrace of his or her own mother and father. Third, while two female bodies have double the eggs and two male bodies have double the sperm, bigoted biology requires one sperm and one egg for every new life to begin. Therefore, SB 729 will require insurance companies to fund the participation of reproductive third parties, someone else's sperm, egg, womb, embryo, to make sure single men, lesbians, and gay couples are not disadvantaged. Never mind that this will subject children to identity struggles often experienced by children created via sperm or egg donation. Never mind the womb rental infants suffer intentional severing from the maternal bond, largely regarded as the foundation of lifelong trust and attachment. And no surrogacy is not just adoption. Equality must be achieved, even the expense of denying children a relationship with a biological parent and or their birth mother. Finally, biology puts no limit on heterosexual couples' pregnancy attempts, while single and same sex couples are limited to high cost of IVF. That's why SB 729 will grant everyone's unlimited embryo transfers. Once you've selected your child's genetic parent from that sperm or egg catalog, created your dozens of embryos, discarded and donated the undesirables, sex selected to your preference, and frozen the majority for later or possibly for never, then the sky's the limit. You can implant however many tiny humans you want into your womb or that of a hired stranger. Never mind that only 7% of lab created babies will be born alive due to the high risk nature of IVF pregnancies, eugenic screenings, and the selective reduction of which they've subjected. You notice that they actually crossed out the word abortion and actually put in the words selective reduction. Very interesting in itself for choice of words. We already have 1 million babies in the ice in this country, many of whom have been functionally abandoned, but at least 93% of the lab created babies who die in California will do so in the hands of truly diverse population. California's proposed bill is not unlike other recent attempts in Minnesota, in Washington, and nationally to treat children as items to be cut and pasted into any or every adult relationship. But this is the inevitable result of equating two things that can never be equal: opposite sex and same sex relationships. There's only one kind of marital relationship capable of producing children, and thus only one coupling that deserves to be incentivized or institutionalized. In the marriage, the family world, the pursuit of equality based on the adult emotions and preferences will always result in true inequality for children. And unfortunately for Americans' children, our highest court insists that there's no distinction between those two types of parental pairings even though one leads to wholeness for children and the other to lifelong loss. A very interesting read in itself to actually, think that California would be willing to go ahead and pass SB 729 to actually go ahead and say that it's all right for people to continue to do the ridiculousness of male pregnancies. It just the whole thing is just stupid. They need to really stop it and actually go back and check themselves on a lot of this. It really doesn't make much sense when it comes down to it, and it's really kind of disturbing. Um, Macro says, "Toy box, sup, my gay brother from another mother." Yeah, that's funny as hell. LO seemed everyone had fun. Next stream will be changes again for better experience in chat, and we'll have a phone scam better laptop. Nice. That was so funny. I was laughing so hard as I was eating my dinner tonight. um, did I just hear male pregnancy? Yes, you did. That's California for you. That's California. California wants to actually push the ridiculousness. They're really seriously for all that. This one is kind of stupid in itself. Exclusive. Marco Rubio introduces bill to make federal buildings beautiful instead of eyesores. All these buildings are very beautiful in themselves. They are all actually their architecture's been there for as long as they've been built. Decades, centuries. You'd be surprised how long some of these federal buildings have actually been standing. He's just pretty much trying to push for reconstruction and or rehabilitation or modernization of each one of these buildings as far as he can possibly go, and he's pushing it for there's a large exorbitant number, more than 11,400 letters to the White House demanding they be allowed to redesign hideous buildings. Who gets to decide what's hideous and what's not? For them to actually say that some of these buildings, because they've been there for as long as they have, they get to change what they look like and take away the historic nature of each one of these buildings. And Marco Rubio is going to continue to push his disgustingness on buildings. It's like, what the fuck? Really? Royal Brothers Row. Embattled Prince Andrew mocks King Charles III's authority, refuses to leave 30-room mansion. Epstein connection still plagues him. His prince's daughters have limited prospects in the firm. Prince Andrew and Duke of York, forever plagued with the prolonged association of late convicted pedophile, is now measuring forces against his brother King Charles III. Andrew was forced out of royal duties after settling a sex abuse case in the U.S. with Epstein's victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre in 2022, and now, besides heavily curtailing the brother's appearance as royal family's official events, Charles III wants him to vacate the 30-room Royal Lodge and move to much smaller Frogmore Cottage. A real estate row between the two brothers has reached farcical proportions and disgraced Andrew, making it a mockery of the big brother's pressures to campaign to get him to leave his grace and favors home, which in theory is the king's gift. Andrew has hired builders to do some much needed repairs in the damp and mold problems in the $46 million house Royal Lodge in the effort to stop his brother from throwing him out. Thanks to cash he inherited from their mother, Queen Elizabeth, Andrew has advised that he should move out while work is undertaken because the house is virtually a building site, but he's refused because he's so terrified that the property might be seized in his absence, according to Buckingham Palace source. Andrew has spent millions of pounds into the home and he took a 75-year lease on, expecting it would be his home for life. King Chucky is really seriously trying to push his will against um against Prince Andrew as far as he possibly can, to actually get him removed from the likeness of this building. If we all know that when it comes down to it, I'm just going to kind of scroll through this, that the those children, those daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, would actually be royal family, and for King Chucky to go ahead and move along with wanting to evict them from their own home is really kind of disturbing in itself, and something that could be very interesting to find out what actually does happen um, with this family as they go through these turmoils of King Chucky. Oh, I found this very fucking interesting. I'm like, what the hell? The hell is this? Dead woman bangs on coffin during her own wake, gets rescued by shocked son. What happened to actually embalming? What happened? Rumble Chat Broke was commenting on the Cali bill, but they went off and nowhere to the nowhere zone. Aw, that sucks. That sucks. I really don't know what's going. It looks like it's still running. Yeah, looks like it's still running. Yeah, it's still going. All's good over there. I don't know what happened to your messages. Um, Either way, dead woman bangs on coffin during her own wake, gets rescued by shock son. I don't know what happened to the embalming feature of actually making sure people were actually taken care of before they were buried, but apparently that's not something that you actually look at in Ecuador. This is a 76-year-old woman who is declared dead in the hospital in Ecuador, banged on a coffin during her own wake, and was rescued by her son and other mourners. Her son, Gilberto Barbera, said there were about 20 of us there. After about 5 hours of the wake, the coffin started to make sounds. My mom was wrapped in sheets and hid in the coffin, and when we approached, we could see that she was breathing heavily. I lifted up the coffin to hear her heart was pounding, and and her left hand was hitting the coffin. He called 911 to bring her here to the hospital. He said in the video posted on social media, it gave us all a fright. My mom is on oxygen. Her heart is stable. The doctor pinched her hand and she reacted. They they tell me that that this is good because it means that she is reacting little by little. Little by little, I am grasping that has happened. Now I only pray that my mother's health to improve. I want her alive and by my side. It's very disturbing in itself to actually just believe that they went ahead and they're like, oh well, she's dead. Go ahead, put her in a coffin, wrap her up. Let's go. To have her us and just be knocking and say, "Let me out of here." What the heck? I couldn't imagine how scary and frightening that would actually be for this lady to actually be put in a casket or a coffin to only be found out that she is actually still alive. I'm not gonna do this one. I'm not gonna do it. Just can't. I can't do it. So I found this and I read through it. I'm like, this will be the last thing that I actually put up. This will be the last thing for this particular day. It's The Prodigal Son, an ode to Hunter Biden. Somebody actually went to the point of actually writing this ode, this poem per se, It's very interesting, kind of lengthy, and as soon as we actually go through it, we'll actually probably go away within moments. In the annals of legend, let's take a stroll where irony reigns and tragedy takes its toll. Here lies the tale of prodigal son's fame, Hunter Biden, the champion in his twisted game. Father's gloom Father glooms and advises to no avail. Brother sadly deceased, a most tragic tale. With mother gone, childhood is grim. It is left not a soul catechize him. Yet behold a man of virtues untold, whose glorious exploits glisten like gold. A dance with the devil, his trusted friend, his mind a kaleidoscope, a journey to no end. Cocaine on the table, crack on the floor, American royalty unafraid of a knock on the door. But let us not be too harsh with a matter so grave. Rather let's give this brick of Parmesan a shave. Oh, laptop, my laptop, our fearful trip is done. Scheming Putin and Russians have won. Disinformation, at least that's what they tell me. Hard to know for certain with a memory is so hazy. Yet amidst foreign lands, his business did thrive, a master entanglements no one should deny. The wonders of trading and a famous name, a birthright squandered, yet still he finds no shame. Burisma in Moscow, corruption galore, a tale for ages, never a bore. A bag of cash here, another over there. A life of a prince doesn't have to be fair. Yet, our hero is family over all. No fortune too big, no favor too small. 10% for the big guy, a small price to pay when the next paycheck is but an election away. Oh, how he triumphed, a prince on his throne, a background of privilege now tossed overthrown. For what use is wealth and comfort sublime when one can embrace a splendor of grime? Amidst the shadows of thirst and desire, we sought solace in the arms of higher. A mistress of trade, her presence discreet, his addiction to pleasure, a taste bittersweet. But wait, there's more, a romance of delight, a love story so scandalous, hidden from sight. With brother's widowed wife, a trust is so bold, a web of tangled passions, a tale to be told. Yet our lustful hero never satisfied. The widow's sister, she too caught his eyes, sending text after text, risky and flirty, a marriage defiled, ever so dirty. Behold the plight of his once proud name, financial woes, a relentless claim. For what good are riches and prosperous gain when debts and burdens are all that remain? In the realm of fatherhood, a child's plea, a tiny voice yearning to be free. But he turned a blind eye, refused to see the bond that he denied, a choice for eternity. Nights at the Waldorf, keys in the Porsche. Father needs someone to carry his torch. Yet the life of a Biden, not all games are fun. The wall's closing in. We've had a good run. Alas, our hero approaches his doom. Authorities discovered a gun in its tomb. Little lies in a form and all that it took. Right to his head, thrown at it the book. Truth is a challenge, a feat to behold. So many lies to remain untold. Yet our prince will carry on, no need to despair. Truth's hard to spot with fake teeth and fake hair. Yet when all is said and done, but a slap of the wrist, in what must surely be a media twist, our hero escapes just by a thread. Why bother when monsters like Trump hide under the bed? Now here he comes to his own again. The feds forgive and play pretend. And a righteous living on laughter he'll dine. But still there remains no reproach among swine. The return of the sun, bowed head down. Only the Second Amendment can save him now. He's the best man I know, Father says with pride. But will he ever stop being a thorn in the side? O Hunter, the champion of twisted tales, your exploits they dance as irony prevails. A cautionary ode to your glorious strife, a toast to the prodigal son's broken life. When I seen this, I was just like, heck yeah, that has to be the closing thing. Because why? It's a great poem that tells the exact truth about Hunter Biden and the Biden family. It's so great that I just thought it had to be what would actually end the show. Um, this is why the brother demanded not to be embalmed. It happens alone, apparently. At least on the table. Weird. Gives this brick of Parmesan a shave? Yes. I know, right? What the fuck is this? What? Are you kidding me, Madcore? It was a great poem written about some ridiculous asshole and his daddy. I thought it was great. It was called. All right, everybody. That being said, thank you also very, very much for being here tonight. If you enjoyed what you actually watched, please hit the like button. Share this out to all those places that you go and let all your friends know where you actually like to hang out. Again, if you like what you've seen, hit the like button. If you didn't like what you've seen, hit the like button and leave a comment down below. Let me know where I can actually do better next. Thank you all so very much for being here. I love you all so much. I'll leave you with one last thing. Later.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.